everybody, welcome back to the Creepy Cascadia podcast. Sammy here, one of your hosts, and as always, I'm joined by my stunningly devilishly handsome co-host, Adam.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing today, babe?
I don't know if I'm comfortable with all these, increasingly... I mean, I like that you think it'd be that way, but...
I'm gonna objectify you and you're gonna like it, alright?
Okay, fair. This makes me a little weird. I know friends and family are listening, so,
Hey, you're a fox. I know it, they know it, everybody knows it. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, man, I can't wait till I'm, Silver Fox with, the gray beard, when we were watching Last of Us.
When Pedro Pascal's all gray now?
No, it was Nick Offerman's episode.
Oh, yeah, for sure not Pedro Pascal. Nick Offerman, yeah.
Caught! Red-handed!
Hey, I've already told you, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Pedro Pascal is blowing up my spot right now.
Yeah.
But we did just watch that episode 3 that everybody was talking about, and oh my god.
Yeah.
If you guys aren't watching The Last of Us, you should be, because it's really good.
Yeah.
And I was, not sure, because I'm not really into, they're not zombies, but they're kind of zombies, if you watch it, but...
Yeah. It's called the zombie fungus.
That was a beautiful episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god, beautiful.
I was literally walking to work yesterday after watching that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And when Nick Offerman comes out of the house with the fucking gas mask and the shotgun and he's hopping around on his porch.
Yeah.
That scene came to mind and I was cracking up on walking into work. I was man, it's I swear I saw that picture somewhere. I feel like Nick Offerman might have shared that photo from when they recorded to now.
Yeah.
And was can't wait to share with y'all what I'm doing, and I'm just fucking, it was so, yeah, it was hilarious.
Nick Offerman is a genuine treasure. He needs to be protected at all costs.
Yeah.
And Pedro Pascal is blowing up my shit right now because TikTok is obsessed with Pedro Pascal.
Well, we watched the SNL episode. He's on SNL.
God. And he's so funny. I think that's why he's so, what makes him so attractive is because he's also funny.
Oh, yeah.
100%,
Pedro Pascal seems like a dude that you could just go grab a beer with and have a real, legit hilarious talk. And it's not because I watched Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where it's basically just him and Nicolas Cage going and having beers and doing drugs and having a good old time. But
I literally was going to say, so when he started, all of a sudden it was everything's Pedro Pascal. I told Adam, I'm I remember watching him talk about how he got super stoned and went to the movies or something.
Yep.
And then I didn't find the video of him talking about it, but I saw a tweet about it where he was super high on edibles, and went to watch The Incredibles 2, because he had commented some girl at the movie theater had taken a picture with him, and she was I don't care if I get fired, this was the best day of my life meeting Pedro Pascal, and he tweeted, responded to the tweet and said, I was high off my mind off of edibles watching The Incredibles 2, and you made my entrance into the theater amazing. And I'm I want to get stoned with this guy and just have a drink, maybe have a edible, and just
As long as it doesn't go anywhere, hey.
No, I don't want to screw him. I literally want to watch you two interact and just I would love to watch you guys interact and be a fly on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Hope
it rubs off on me a little.
No! You're already funny. That's why I love you so much, because you're hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pedro Pascal is blowing up my spot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. It's real good. It's funny, I seem to remember when the first episode of The Mandalorian where they take off his helmet or whatever, and I was who the fuck's this guy? I was I don't know who this is.
But yeah, he was on Game of Thrones,
he didn't look recognizable.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was oh. And then they had another episode later where he takes off his helmet, and it's oh, okay. Yeah,
okay, I know that guy.
Yeah.
The funny part of SNL was when he was on Law and Order, he talked about being on Law and Order.
Yeah.
And the pictures of him in Law and Order were just hilarious.
Yeah, the first one was young Latino punk. It's how I would describe it. The very flat dark hair.
Yep.
He looked super young, and then he's and then I was this other role, and it was Jewish,
he looked
Orthodox,
a Jewish rabbi or
something.
Something.
Yeah, it was Orthodox Jewish rabbi. Curls, big beard.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell that it was him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
It was pretty funny.
Like, he was breaking, like, it was a good SNL episode.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they were breaking, like, I think multiple scenes they had him cracking up and other people cracking up.
Yep.
And then, like, my favorite was the TikTok episode. Like, I was like, they got to comment on him being daddy.
The slutty daddy.
Right? The slutty daddy and all that stuff. And they did. They had a whole segment about, like, him being the cool high school teacher. And all the kids are, like, making TikToks of him. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't know why you do this. Yeah.
Yep. But he does know. I think he knows.
Oh, I think he knows, too. Yeah. Yeah, that's called acting.
Yeah, yeah.
Where he pretends not to know.
Yeah. But he doesn't, I don't feel like he lets it go to his head either. Like, he just kind of takes it all in stride.
Yeah. Seems pretty chill.
Yeah. Well, now that we've talked about my man crush, we're in February now.
Are we?
We survived January 2023.
Yep.
Our anniversary's coming up.
Dry January. Not that we kept it dry, I don't think.
No, because we had some drinks when we went down to California.
Yep.
Yeah, so our anniversary's coming up. Our wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Not to be mushy, but
may or may not have passed by this point, depending on what you keep in this.
Fair. Yeah, we're pre-recording some episodes because we've got like a busy February coming up. So, you know, we may or may not have just passed our anniversary, or we may be approaching our anniversary, but our anniversary is in February. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you want to talk about? Valentine's Day?
No.
Anniversary stuff, mushy mush, love stuff?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I'm, like, so glad you're my person.
Yeah.
I know I say that all the time, but you're, like, honestly, like, Adam and I, we met later in life, right? So, like, you're more than I could have ever even dreamed of in a partner. Like, you're so much more than what I could have even imagined, right? Like, I think that was even in my vows. Yeah. And you're also super handsome, so, like, win-win, you know?
Yeah. Lucky for me. I'm the lucky one. I don't know. She's getting all mushy over there, but I'm the lucky one.
No, I'm the lucky
Don't
one.
let her fool you.
But, now that we're all lovey-dovey, let's talk about some murder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's get that lovey-dovey stuff out of the way and talk some murder. So,
need to get a little high in before we hit the lows.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this week and next week's episode, these are actually, I know you guys don't like two-parters, but some of the things that we cover are just, there's so much that it's impossible to put it in one episode.
Yeah.
So this first portion of so I'll just tell you guys, we're going to be talking about the Amityville Murders, and then we're also going to talk about the hauntings, the subsequent hauntings that came from this. The Amityville Murders is going to be broken up into two parts because it's just, there's a lot of information. And then the hauntings, I'm hoping to get all in one, but there's a lot to delve into with that, even just by itself, because, you know, we have to talk about the Warrens when we talk about the hauntings.
I didn't know the Warrens were part of this. Okay.
They are. They play a part in the haunting. So, you know, we kind of have to talk about them a little because that's a whole episode or two on its own, just the Warrens. We're not going to go that deep into it, but there is a lot to break down with them, and then the hauntings, and there's a book. So, we're hoping to make that one just one episode, but I can't guarantee it. So I'm sorry, guys. You guys just have to keep listening. So, this one is going to be a two-parter for sure, the Amityville Murders that we're going to talk about. So, yeah, listen to all because, you know, that's what we want.
Yeah.
One of us. So, before we start, though, Adam...
Oh, yeah. Okay. This is a question for me, not the audience.
This is a question, yeah. Did you know that there was actually a mass murder that occurred in Amityville haunting house before it became haunted and famous for being haunted?
No, all I know about Amity, I think, is like the Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yeah.
And I know there was
He's a talented actor, too.
Yeah. It is Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yeah, he was super jacked in that movie.
Yeah. It was... Trying to think if it was like after Green Lantern.
I want to say it was before.
Or before.
Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure. So
unclear on my timeline about
I know
Ryan
that
Reynolds' IMDb, right?
That one came out so the one that you're talking about is actually a remake of the original that's based on a movie or a book that was written.
Yeah.
That we will talk about when we get into the hauntings, but
yeah, and I knew there was a prior horror movie or something.
With James Brolin.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But the Ryan Reynolds version came out in 2005.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it had to have been mid-2000s.
Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of spin-offs on those movies too, just FYI. I think I saw there's like 12 Amityville movies. People are always making movies about it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think I've only seen the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is the thing. You're doing the murders.
Yep.
And then the haunting, but really all I remember from the movie was the dad getting like possessed or like that. I thought the whole idea was the house was haunted and that's what led to the murders. So you're gonna be tripping me up a little here.
No, it's okay.
You know, because heaven forbid Ryan Reynolds movie lies to me.
I mean, you can't even put it on the TV unless it's true.
I know, right? It was on the internet. It must be true.
It has to be.
Heaven forbid we. I almost said socialize, but that's not the right word. Sensationalize. There you go.
There you go.
Sensationalize.
Yeah.
Like the murders or something, and yeah. So yeah. But I don't know much about this.
Yeah.
Like I said, Ryan Reynolds movie, and I'm pretty sure I only watched it because Ryan Reynolds was in it because I don't like scary movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why would you watch it? Because you don't like scary movies.
Yeah, but Ryan Reynolds has a special place in my heart.
I mean,
he's like my man crush, you know.
Oh, he's everybody. That's a big thing on TikTok. People are always like, "Would you leave your wife for $1 million?" And it's like, no. And then they show a picture of Ryan Reynolds, and they're like, "Fuck."
Like the $1 million is coming from Ryan Reynolds, like it's like an indecent proposal type scenario.
I mean, yeah. If Ryan Reynolds wanted to just give us $1 million for you to fool around with him, like, I'd be okay with it. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I feel like he'd be a very gentle lover.
I knew as soon as I said indecent proposal, you would go sexual. I was like,
well, yeah.
I was like, just best buds, like leave your wife, you know, type thing.
No, you
like,
can't
go,
leave me. But
go co-own a soccer team, small soccer team in England.
But I want to come too.
Or Wales. Sorry, they're in Wales.
I want to come too.
Yeah, I know you want to come too. Story of your life.
Shut up.
Terrible.
I mean, I feel like
I'm telling myself, man.
I was gonna say, like, that doesn't necessarily reflect poorly on me.
No, brother. Yeah. Yikes. I have a feeling this is gonna be one of those I'm gonna ask you to delete it, and you're not gonna delete it, and I'm gonna get laughed at on the
comedy
socials
gold,
for sure.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I thought you were going with the not the Ryan Reynolds $1 million, but the it's like what's every dude's like man crush? Like Ryan Reynolds is like in almost every dude's like top 5.
Yeah.
The same way there's like I want to say for like gay guys there's like which women would make you not be gay.
Doja Cat.
Yeah, that's what
I've
I
seen
was
a lot
thinking.
of those. Like, oh, I know I'm gay, or I know I'm straight, and then they're like, they pop up like Doja Cat and Ryan Reynolds, and they're like, shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's like the smash or pass, smash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, you're literally just saying that they need to remake Indecent Proposal. Instead of Robert Redford, you have Pedro Pascal.
I don't think I've ever watched that movie.
It was Robert Redford, Demi Moore, and Woody Harrelson. So Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson are like the poor ones, and Robert Redford's the like millionaire, billionaire, and he offers $1 million to for one night with Demi Moore.
One Night in Paris.
Yeah, and they do the like it's the like scene with all the dollars on the bed, Demi Moore rolling around.
With Robert Redford or Woody Harrelson?
Like Woody Harrelson is the one in the room, like after they got paid or like they give him the money ahead of time or whatever. But then it's like Robert Redford's just so charming, she kind of falls in love with him and puts it in her mind like, why would Woody Harrelson like let his wife go for, you know, such an insignificant amount of money, blah blah blah, yeah, type of a thing. So I'm just saying, if they remade it, like you do like Pedro Pascal or
who would be like the Robert Redford character?
But I'm saying Pedro Pascal would be the Robert Redford.
Who would be one
as the rich daddy?
Yeah.
I don't know. What if you remade it with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds? Be a little too on the nose.
That's too close to home. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that one. I don't like that for you.
What if they did because the idea was like Woody Harrelson was like at that time was like
He was the it guy.
good looking, you know what I mean? Like he had just done like Natural Born Killers.
Mm-hmm.
Had just come off of Cheers, being the dopey funny guy. You know,
Yeah.
it's like White Men Can't Jump.
Oh, that's
Like,
right.
yeah,
That's an oldie.
yeah. Like Woody Harrelson did some movies in the '90s. Man.
Oh yeah,
like
he was popular, and he's kind of coming back too.
Yeah, Zombieland I think was like a big like that was still just a little while back, but he's
Cassius Clay and Venom 2.
Yeah, he's in like yeah.
Look at me.
What did you say, Cassius Clay?
Isn't that his name in there?
No.
What is it?
Cletus Cassidy.
Fuck!
Yeah.
Where did I get Cassius Clay? Is
I
that
don't
a
know.
name from somewhere else?
It's Muhammad Ali's.
Oh my god!
That's why I was like, wait, what? Like Venom 2.
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy, not
Is what
Cassius Clay.
I'm like, where would I pull that name out of my ass? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, maybe you've seen it, but I mean, like, yeah, dude, Muhammad Ali. Yeah, Cassius Clay is his birth name, his slave name, if you asked him.
Oh, is that what he says?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he changed to Muhammad Ali. I think after he converted. I think he converted, or maybe he just. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
to Islam, obviously, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, with
with all that.
With all
so,
that.
Yeah.
Let's just get into the case. So, in the early morning hours of November 13th, 1974, 6 members of the Defeo family are murdered in their beds, execution style, in their Long Island home. Only one family member remained alive, Robert Defeo Jr., who's commonly referred to as Butch, and we're going to call him Butch throughout the story because there is a senior. So,
okay.
not long after. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So when you say he's the senior.
So Butch is the junior, and he's the one that remained alive.
Okay, was he like a son, or was he the where did he fit in the family? Was
he was the son.
Okay.
Yep, and I'm gonna give you guys. I'll give you the family tree as well.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. So not long after the murders, the family's sole survivor is arrested for the patricide, and the tragic story of the Defeo family starts to emerge. So I want to start off by talking about the Defeo family, and just a trigger warning for this episode, we're gonna have domestic abuse, drug use, obviously murder, gun violence, all of the things. So this is actually a really sad story that I think gets lost in the hype of the hauntings.
Yeah.
You know? So we're going to start off with the father of the family, who is Ronald Defeo Sr. He was 43 at the time of the murders, and he was born on November 16th, 1930 in Brooklyn, New York, to parents Rocco and Antoinette Defeo. Which, Rocco...
I was going to say, Rocco, such a long-lost name.
I think it's funny that you said long, because it literally is like, is there a porn star named like Rocco Siffredi or something like that?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I went to Rocco's Modern Life, but it's spelled differently.
Oh, it is spelled differently,
like
but yeah.
rock.
Yeah.
R-O-C-K, whereas Rocco is normally R-O-C-C-O.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's spelled. So I wasn't able to find a ton about Ronald Defeo Sr.'s childhood. Most of the articles that I did find are just tying him to the murder and the sensationalism of all of that.
Okay.
But I can tell you that there's not a ton of nice things that folks had to say about him in his adult life. In 1951, Ronald married Louise Briganti, the matriarch of the Defeo family. Louise was born on November 3rd, 1931, also in Brooklyn, New York. I want to point out, this is a double Scorpio couple.
Is that bad?
Well, I mean, we can be a little feisty, so...
Okay, so you're saying it maybe makes for a volatile relationship?
I mean, I'm not saying that's why, but they did have a volatile relationship.
Okay.
So... Ronald Sr. was abusive and temperamental, not only towards his wife, but eventually towards his children as well. So, some articles I read said that Ronald Sr. owned a car dealership, but most of the others that I saw actually said that Ronald worked as a service manager for the dealership owned by Louise's father, which was Briganti Carl Buick, which was in Brooklyn.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely her last name then, right?
Yeah, so her father, it sounds like Louise came from money, which I think I talk about here in a little bit, but I think that it was like a family business, and once they got married, he was brought into the family business.
I feel like that's fairly common for back in the day. Like, that's how
Mhm.
people got jobs. Whole lot of nepotism.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think there's literally like a job finder commercial out now about like making fun of that. Like,
Oh really?
it's like, I wish I could have hired all these great people from like around the world instead of my own house. And it's like all these pictures of the same people like in the background as like the CEOs or something. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you there was a lot of other nepotism because Butch also worked at the car dealership.
Oh yeah, 100%, right?
Yep.
I mean,
So the Defeo family was well off itself, although there were rumors at the time of mob ties. Like the dealership having mob ties and also the Defeo family having mob ties. I wasn't able to substantiate any of these rumors, but I do mention it because it does come into play later.
okay. I mean, yeah, if you want to get rid of a car and
Yeah, we just watched
replace
Twins
a
last
car.
night where he was like stealing cars and boosting cars.
yeah.
Yeah. So from the sounds of it, like I said, Louise came from a well-off family and Ronald went to work for his father-in-law at the family dealership. In September of 1951, so the same year that they got married, Ronald Sr. and Louise welcomed their first child, a son they called Ronald Defeo Jr., so Butch.
Okay.
He was the oldest son in the family.
Okay.
In 1956, they welcomed daughter Dawn, followed by Allison in 1961, son Mark in 1962, and John in 1965. So they had a bunch of kids.
Yeah, was it five?
Five
Three
kiddos.
boys, 2 girls?
Yep, 5 kiddos. So
Yeah.
this is a busy family. Like, you know, you have to make a decent wage in order to support a family of, 7, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
I always thought people who owned car dealerships did pretty well.
I feel like we know somebody that worked at a car dealership and we were told they did well. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's a fickle business though.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... As a dealership owner, you almost have no control over the cars that you receive. I mean, unless you can literally like order them from the car companies.
Right.
And be
Well,
like,
I mean,
I want these versus these. And
even when we were looking for our new car, like they were months out building cars. Like there was a shortage.
yeah.
So in that case, like it's probably not a very lucrative business at that time because you got people that are just pissed at waiting.
Yeah. I feel that was maybe more a recent, like just
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah, that's
natural
fair.
resources stuff versus, because I guess up until our ordeal trying to find a new car, I always thought you could just go and grab one at roughly any time.
I think that usually is the case, but
Which did lead to some of our misinterpretations when we went car shopping a time or two. Yeah,
Miscommunications,
Yeah.
opportunities for improvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So from the outside looking in, this actually looked like a pretty happy and successful family. But as we all know, looks can be pretty deceiving. Most of the reports state that Ronald was violent towards most of his family. He would often hit Louise, and in one article I saw on Medium.com, they reported that once Louise was coming up the stairs with laundry, and Ronald punched her in the face so hard that he knocked her down a flight of stairs.
Yeah, that's pretty excessive. That's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna almost excuse it a little, be like, when is this? It's a sign of the times, but punching in the face and knocking her downstairs.
I mean, even at the time, there's no excuse to like lay your hands on somebody else.
But yeah, well, it's almost like people at the time, like if I'm like, what time was it?
50s and 60s.
Yeah, so in my mind, the 50s and 60s, like a man putting a woman in place is more accepted than it is now. So for people to be like, oh, that guy.
For them to think of him poorly, like it had to be excessive. I
exactly,
see
that's what I'm trying to say. Yes,
okay.
Yes, 100%. Like the time, some discipline is normal.
Right. But we're not. I mean, we're not like advocating for that. Like it was all fucking wrong in the beginning. Like, no time at all. And I'm so glad that we have started to move away from them. But I don't think we're 100% there. But
yeah, they're still.
We got twats like Marjorie Taylor Greene that are setting us back.
Yep, there's always some.
Yeah, there's always one person. So along with the physical abuse, there was a lot of verbal and emotional abuse as well. So it just sounds like this family was full. There was lots of fighting, lots of turmoil, and the reports of abuse were actually corroborated by family members and friends of the family. So other people saw it as well.
Yeah.
I did see in one article, I can't recall, I'm pretty sure I put it in my notes, but like when Butch was just like 2 or 3, like a toddler, his dad like pushed him against a wall because he like got out of line or something. Yeah. Something terrible.
Yeah. At 2 or 3, you should just be running into walls on your own.
Yeah. I mean, I still do that.
It's literally called toddler. Like, you know, like
you gotta toddle into the wall.
Yeah, you're toddling around. Like that's what I always thought. Is like you were called that because that's the age where you're like kind of walking, but you're not really good at it.
Yeah, I mean, some people again, I still do that. That's
Yeah.
why I get all those bruises all the time from running into shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Yep. It's
Now,
not me.
no, it's not.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it sounds like Louise stood by her abusive husband, to the detriment of her family. Now, I'm in no way blaming Louise. From the sounds of everything, she was a victim herself. And again, like you said, it was a sign of the times. Like you just grin and bear it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's something that always bothers me, and it's really hard for me to understand how a mom can watch her children become victims and not want to protect them from that type of upbringing, right?
Yeah.
Like the emotional abuse, the verbal, the physical abuse, like you're just creating another generation. And as we find out, Butch also is inclined to violence.
Yeah.
So, not to say, we've had the conversation many times about nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
I think this was a combination of both,
Yeah. Like it's ingrained, but then it's also the environment
enforced,
after,
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really, a lot of that stuff can become cyclical very easy.
Oh, for sure.
Like without, if there's no break in the cycle.
Right. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it sounds like Louise came from money and would have been okay to leave her abusive husband. But again, it could have been like a thing like you don't leave your husband. You just suck it up, right? Especially if the husband is like ingrained in the family business. He probably had like a good relationship with the father-in-law, or at least was tolerable because he did work with him.
Yeah.
It just sounds like the whole situation was ripe for like Louise not being heard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of like the opposite of like The Godfather, where the sister gets abused by the husband, and so the other brothers take it. Maybe she didn't have brothers. Maybe she hid it from her dad. Maybe her dad wasn't.
He's like, well,
he wasn't going to be the type
if
to
you would learn to keep your mouth shut.
I mean, there's that. Like, you have that possibility. You have who knows? There could be any number of reasons to like men don't listen to women.
Maybe Louise grew up in a family where that was also accepted. Again, I don't know. This is just me like spitballing because I have the hardest time when moms don't want to like can't protect their children or have a hard like they just for whatever reason they can't escape that cycle, and it just is always. And it goes to show that having a lot of money doesn't always make life easier, right? Like she had access to money.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about Butch for a little bit because he is spoiler alert, he murdered his family.
Yeah.
So,
I think you may have already spoiled that, but I don't know.
Well, I think there's a fair share of people that have listened to, or heard the story of this, but there might also be people like you that are newer to true crime or haven't heard this story. So, I do want to give the backstory as to why we're doing that. So, and also there's a lot more info about him because he did,
he was the guy.
He was the guy. So, as a child, Butch was overweight, something that was often made fun of by not only his father, but childhood bullies, which kids are fucking terrible.
Yep.
We know this. He was often called names and made fun of due to his size. Now, I'm giving this backstory as a possibility as to why Butch goes on to do what he did and not as an excuse. Like we say, feel sorry for the child, but not the adult, right? Like, you feel sorry that the child had to go through that. And obviously, they came from a very chaotic household, right? Like, you're seeing your dad abuse your mom, you're being abused by your dad. It's a very it's a dysfunctional family, to say the least, right?
Yeah.
And it's sad because they never got the chance to, like, heal and grow and possibly, like, get better.
Yeah.
Like, that chance was taken away from them. So it's really, really hard.
Yeah. And if the bullies pick on him, I mean, depending on, it's like, I don't know if there's like a power dynamic of like size, strength type of a thing,
Yeah.
Like oftentimes that fosters like anger, like that deep-seated like anger that you can't do anything
Because you're helpless.
And until you have the
and
ability
then you snap.
Yeah, pretty much.
There may have been a little of that going on.
Yeah.
As a child, Butch was already showing signs of aggression. And one article I saw mentioned that there was an incident when he was a child. I think he was like a preteen, so, 12, 13 maybe,
Okay.
which isn't preteen, but where he attacked his grandmother. Now, to his parents' credit, they did send him to a psychologist because that's not normal behavior, right?
Yeah.
However, it doesn't sound like that was a consistent thing, and he wasn't treated on a regular basis from anything that I could find. I don't know what provoked the attack, other than the fact that he probably saw women being abused his whole life, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe Grandma said something similar to the bullying, and now, like I said, the power dynamic has shifted. Maybe he's bigger if he's like 10 to 12, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He might be as big as Grandma. He might be bigger than Grandma, and so he's not going to take that shit from...
Fair.
I mean... So.
We do know that sometimes family members can be very... I don't think, their intention is to be that, but they do make comments that aren't very nice,
Yeah.
In the sense of,
it
like...
happens. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm just looking out for your well-being. It's like, well, are you, though?
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, it happens. It's...
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if more people in the family made fun of than just the dad,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So despite the family being super chaotic with all the fighting and violence, they did have money, and a lot of reports said that the children were spoiled and wanted for nothing. Now, in my own opinion, this was done as a way to make up for the violence and abuse. I don't know if it came from Louise or if it came from the dad, but I mean, the dad had to be aware of what was happening, right? If he wasn't doing it.
Money.
Yeah. So I think that, again, a lot of the money came from Louise's side of the family, and so she may have just, used that as a way as a Band-Aid to, like, I know it sucks, but here's whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Which backfires.
I was gonna say, I'm like, so what does Butch want?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about what Butch does and wants. So
he's also the oldest kid, right? Is what you said.
Is.
So
he's the oldest. Yep.
Maybe if the younger kids asked for something that he maybe wanted to, who knows, right?
Yeah. So in 1965, the family moved out of the city to the infamous house at 112 Ocean Avenue. I saw some places listed as Ocean Boulevard, but most of the places say Ocean Avenue, and I will say that address has been changed because people in Amityville do not want you to come gawk at this house.
Yeah.
But I've seen TikTokers who have still found it. If you really want to get into it, you can probably still find it.
It's terrible that all I thought of was Yellow Card.
I kept thinking of you. Every time I would write down the address, I'm like,
there's a place off Ocean Avenue.
I did. I was thinking about the song. I couldn't remember if the band was called Ocean Avenue.
No, the song is Ocean Avenue, and the band is Yellow Card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But see, I did.
Very mid-2000s.
The synopsis happened when I was researching.
Yep.
So, ironically, the house was named High Hopes.
Like it literally had a name?
Louise named it High Hopes.
Okay.
And they actually had a sign out front that said High Hopes.
Okay.
So, this was the same year that the Defeo's last child, John, was born. I'm assuming they needed some room because, 5 kids, you need a lot of room. And this was a big house. It sounds like, so it was built, I can't remember the year it was built. I did see it, but I didn't write it down. But the family then kind of renovated it. They added a pool. They updated it. So they, they bought this gorgeous house and if you see the pictures of the house, it looks the same as it does on, the movie fronts.
Yeah.
it's a really cool looking house.
Yeah.
And I think they've actually changed like those dormer windows that were in the
Yeah.
front
Yeah,
to kind of make it a little less conspicuous, you know? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's very iconic, that look of the
Oh,
house.
yeah. I think if you kept those, people would be able to find the house
Way
for sure.
easier. Yeah. So I did see some articles say that Louise's father actually gave the money to the family to buy the house.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I did see it in some places. And again, it kind of fits with, you know, her family being more well off, helping out the other, you know, helping out Louise and the family.
Did he still work? Was it far enough away that he could still work at the dealership?
They still worked at the dealership. So despite having a beautiful new home that was renovated, the family still was experiencing all the same issues. Like moving did not fix the problem.
Hopes dashed.
Yeah. It's very ironic that High Hopes was the name of the house because it's awful what happened there.
Is that a song? I got high.
It is.
Hopes.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
A
lot of song references in today's episode.
There is a lot. Always. So when Butch was a teenager, he began using LSD, speed, and heroin.
Ooh.
As a result, he lost the weight that he was so often bullied for.
Okay.
But he also dropped out of school at 17, and he was just given a job at the family dealership. It sounds like he was not a model employee, though, and he just kind of showed up whenever he felt like it.
Okay.
But he still got a paycheck.
As like a drug addict does, or...
I mean,
is he recreational or is he an addict?
I think he really gets into it deep.
Yeah. Okay.
Butch was.
But they're enabling him.
They are enabling him 100%, unfortunately, because he just gets whatever he wants and he doesn't have to do whatever.
Yep.
Butch was described as spoiled, and it sounds like that's a pretty accurate assumption. People that he went to school with before he dropped out said that he was like a spoiled brat. I saw in some places.
Okay.
And I feel like it's such a conundrum, right? Like people look at him and think, "Oh, he's so spoiled. He gets whatever he wants." But they also don't know that behind the scenes, like he's living with like an abusive father. He's watching his mother be abused, his siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard. So I would have to believe it's really hard to reconcile an abusive father that was super mean-spirited with being given everything you want. Like the biggest thing you need is a father who isn't an asshole, you know?
Yeah.
Who's not abusive and
Yeah. That's why it's like I'd rather grow up in a loving environment than a rich environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
For sure. And some people don't get either.
True story. True story.
Yeah. So again, just so much dysfunction. It had to be such a mind fucked, right? And I feel like at this point he's probably self-medicating to
the drugs.
For sure. Yeah. You know, like, oh, I'm fat. Everybody thinks I'm fat. I'm going to do all this drug. I'm going to lose weight, you know?
Oh, yeah. I went with escapism, but yeah, I mean,
it's like, probably all of those things.
My mind, if you're doing LSD, you're definitely trying to.
Mm-hmm.
Although you said he was like 17-ish, so this might be like late 60s, early 70s. Might just be a drug of choice around that time. I don't know.
True. Sounds like LSD was pretty popular back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's because the government was experimenting on people.
I know they were. They really did. So as an adult, or as he got older, Butch actually began to stick up for himself, and him and his father were like butting heads constantly.
Oh yeah.
There was a few articles I saw that said Butch actually pulled a gun on Ronald Sr. and pulled the trigger a year before the murders happened.
What?
But the gun misfired, sparing Ronald Sr.'s life.
Hmm.
Now, I'm sure this would have made the father pause and consider his life choices, but it doesn't sound like things ever got better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's quite an escalation there.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting real pissed and just fucking doing the thing.
Yeah.
So, aside from the drugs and the violent temper like his father, Butch was also doing petty crimes at the time. In the weeks before the murders, Butch, along with a coworker, were suspected of stealing over $19,000 from their dealership.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So they were supposed to be taking the money and making a deposit at the local bank.
Yeah.
But they claimed that they had been robbed on their way to the bank.
How many times would be 19,000?
It was one like deposit.
One deposit, 19,000.
Yeah,
wow.
it was like cash
Okay.
and checks, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, obviously the police were called. That's a lot of money in 1974
Yeah.
to go missing.
Yeah.
This was then debunked because neither Butch nor his coworker could give a cohesive description of the person that robbed them or the events themselves.
Okay. So
Ronald
you're real
Sr.
sus of the two of them.
Yeah. Ronald Sr. was beyond pissed
when
this happened.
Yeah.
But it does sound like they had already suspected Butch had been stealing from the dealership at the time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was pissed, but it was like, I think it was concrete proof that this situation was coming to a head, right?
Yeah. You're also dumb. If you think he's stealing, why give him even more money or allow him access or whatever? Just, yeah. It sounds like Ronald Sr.'s, I don't know, reaping what he sowed.
I mean, yeah, like, again, so here's the thing that happens, though. When people are murdered like this, like I said in the beginning, you don't ever have a chance to redeem yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, somebody else gets to make that decision for you.
Yep.
That, they're your judge, jury, and executioner. And to be fair, like, Butch was also not, I mean, I do feel bad for his childhood. It sucks, but that doesn't make you...
Doesn't authorize
That doesn't excuse him, like,
Yep.
to do what you did. And he did a heinous thing. And then he continued, as we will go through, he continued lying about it, too.
Yeah.
So, after the car dealership thing, like, I have to assume, like, the tension in that house is max level, right? Like, the dad's pissed, Butch is pissed, he got caught, like, him and the coworker.
Probably trying to decide if you want to send him to jail or have him charged, right? Like,
now, I don't think that the family operated that way. I think they kept everything like, we'll take care of it kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, he was spoiled.
Yeah.
So that's going to bring us to the night of the murders, which I'm not going to be super detailed because it's a huge tragedy. If you really want to know the gruesome details, you can look it up. There's so much available on this.
Yeah.
So, around 3 a.m. on the morning of November 13th, 1974, Butch went through the house and executed every single member of his family as they slept. He shot them all in their beds with a .35 caliber lever-action Marlin 336 rifle. Louise and Ronald Sr. received multiple shots, while all of the children were only shot once. So all of the siblings were shot once. So, I just want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I have questions.
How did none of them wake up?
That was my first one.
Yep. It seems super crazy that in the midst of all these shots, no one woke up inside the house. So, I do want to point out, I did see in some places that some reports said that Louise and either Allison and or Dawn were awake at the time of their murders. But it's hard to confirm what's true because there's going to be... A, there's a lot of information that goes around. And B, Butch gave a lot of conflicting stories after the fact of what really happened.
Yeah.
And it would be hard to imagine that the noise wouldn't wake up the family, so that in itself is super odd.
Yeah, I was like, is he using a silencer somehow?
I will tell you that they did not... When they find the murder weapon, because he ditches it, they do not find a silencer. And my first thought was, and I think we actually go into this, my first thought was that he sedated them.
Well, that was my second one did they find anything in the autopsy about, like, sedation? Like...
No.
Could he have poisoned them at dinner or something and like...
So that was my first thought. Yeah.
You could stage, like, the fact that they're all face down in my mind is he already staged them after the killings, right?
Right. I know that, like, his parents, they were all shot in the back.
Okay.
And I think all of the other family members were also shot in the back. Like, shot behind, from behind.
Yeah.
So very execution style, like.
Yeah. Be very weird for the whole family to just be face down sleepers.
Well, who? Yeah. I'm like, for one, I hate, like, I mean, I kind of sleep on my stomach and my side, but,
yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought silencer, sedation, like, to me it seems improbable that it happened, that they didn't wake up.
So I will tell you that also contributes to the mystery of the hauntings and how they use that in their favor. Okay. But the autopsies reports, from what I saw, They didn't find any sedatives in any of the family members.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I wondered if they did autopsies because it's like you have an obvious gunshot wound where they're like, well, let's see if the dad from poisoning.
well, I mean, I think
You
they
know.
would test to see, like, their main thing would be, like, did they,
Yeah.
were they sedated at the time of their deaths? Did
Yeah,
he
if it was
pose them
weird.
after?
Yeah.
I think the only logical one would, fuck, I can't even talk. The only logical one would be that he, like, positioned them after he murdered them.
Yeah.
Or multiple shooters. That's another theory that comes into play, too. That
Okay.
he didn't do these by himself.
Yeah. Do them either all roughly at the same time or something, or...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, after the shootings, Butch cleaned himself up and took the clothes that he'd been wearing along with the gun, and I saw that he either dumped them in a drain in Brooklyn or he dumped them in the lake near their house. Most of the reports I saw said that he dumped them in a drain in Brooklyn because they did recover the murder weapon eventually.
Yeah. Which in my mind would be heavier and land closer to the dump site versus clothing might float a little more.
For sure. So he then went into work at the car dealership and acted surprised when Ronald Sr. never showed up to work. He even attempted calling the house a few times, all of which seemed to just him be... All of that points to him, but like creating an alibi, right?
Right.
Oh, that's
People are
weird.
not that good of actors.
No, they're not.
Like, everyone's like, look at this fucking guy calling home like he doesn't know that his family's missing. Like,
yeah.
Like, don't they all live... But I guess with his shady behavior, who knows? Like, if people even thought that he went home regularly at night. Who knows, right?
And I think he was actually 23 at the time of the murders.
Okay.
So he didn't stay at work long, and after there are varying reports on how he spent his afternoon, but I've seen that he was hanging out with his girlfriend, a woman named Sherry, and I also saw that he was hanging out with some friends doing heroin.
Okay. I mean, if you just murdered your family, you're probably going to want to self-medicate.
Yeah. It wouldn't be until after 6 p.m. that evening that Butch would dramatically enter a local bar and cry out for help, exclaiming that someone had killed his parents. The police were called, and Butch, along with some of the folks from the bar, returned to 112 Ocean Avenue, where the bodies of all 6 members of the Defeo family were discovered. And I think that's where we're going to cut this episode.
Yeah, like, where do you... Sorry. Yeah, don't cut the episode yet. I've... People not have phones? You're like a rich family and you don't have a phone?
Well, this is 1974.
That's what I mean. Like, I thought people had phones by the 70s.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, in the house.
Yeah, he tried to call home.
No. I'm saying he went to a bar and exclaimed, my parents are dead.
Oh!
Why didn't he call from the house? Like, he would have discovered his parents were dead at the house. They don't have a phone at the house, I guess, is really, like...
I'm going to assume he was, like, drugged up at this point, so, like,
just
the normal process of, train of thought wasn't entering the station at that time.
Yeah. Killing your family and then doing drugs and then being like, my family's dead. Like, aren't you going to get busted for the drugs?
Well, I mean... So again, this could tie back to, like, the family having mob ties, right? Like, they said that there's mob ties to the family. Like,
okay.
They're above the law or whatever.
Yeah, but so maybe they got somebody in law enforcement helping the family out.
Could be. Okay. So part of me wonders, though, if he was using that as a way to, like, oh my god, I found my parents dead, I ran out of the house. But he also knew that his siblings were dead. But he didn't say that. He said when he busted into the bar that somebody had killed his parents. Yeah. So I don't know if he wanted somebody else to discover the siblings. Like, oh my god, because like,
so maybe he was gonna like, I don't know. He's worried he's not such a good actor, and he's gonna like, oh my sister. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I don't.
It's all weird.
Yeah.
Super sus.
Yeah.
You hadn't told me Butch did, I'd be like, Butch probably did this, you know? What was the time relation again to, like, the stealing of the thing to...
I saw it was, like, a week or 2 weeks before.
Oh, wow, okay. I was thinking it was, like, months, but yeah, weeks, okay. Oh. Yeah.
I think in the months leading up to the murder, the family was suspecting that he had been stealing from the car dealership. Okay. But this robbery scam was, like, a week or 2 before he murdered his family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty deep.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
So, yeah. So that's where we're going to cut this episode. Okay. In the next part, we're actually going to go over what happened after the police found the family and the subsequent trials. Like, we obviously know Butch gets arrested, but it's a whole crazy thing. Even after he gets arrested, it's still real crazy. Like, the things that he did after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
Yeah.
And these 2 episodes
you said there was a lot here, so...
Yeah. So these ones, there's too much to put in one episode without making it a super long episode, so we're going to just break it up into 2 a little bit shorter episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. As always, thank you guys for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and download our show, as well as leaving us a rating and review for the show on whatever platform you're listening to. All of this helps become more visible to more people. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. All just Creepy Cascadia Pod. We have our website, which is creepycascadiapod.com, or you can send us an email at admin@creepycascadiapod.com. Like we've said before, we have business cards and stickers. If you guys want some to hand out to your friends, family, random people on a bus, let us know. We'll mail you some. Shoot me a message, send us an email. We'll hook you up with some cards that you can pass out as free marketing for us. So yay, go us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, next episode we're gonna get into the subsequent arrest, the trial, all of the crazy shit that he talks about. All I have to say is acid is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
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 I don't think heroin's too much of a...
I mean, it's not great.
It's not, yeah, it's not... It's not much better, but it's, LSD, I know, really...
Just don't do drugs, man.
Mess with your mind.
Yeah. Like, people even have, like, flashbacks, like, years later, right? They talk about, like, acid flashbacks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I've heard about it. From MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Always gotta talk about the MK Ultra.
I mean... Some dude just invents this, some chemist or whatever, and suddenly it's, like, everywhere... The government's not.
Well, people are like microdosing and stuff like that now. Isn't that the whole premise of that one show with Nicole Kidman and it's got Jason from The Good Place? We watched like that first episode.
Yeah, but I don't know how much of it. I guess I didn't even know that it's about microdosing LSD.
I think a friend told me. I think Aisha watched it.
We only watched, like the first episode. We just
watched the first episode, yeah. I think Aisha told me, or Elisa maybe had told us that it was like microdosing LSD or some type of like drug like that was the premise of why they were at this retreat or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, with that, we're going to end it, and then we'll be back next week with part 2 of the Defeo murders and the Amityville murders, and then we're going to go into the following episode. We're going to talk about the hauntings.
Okay.
And Ryan Reynolds shirtless.
Talk about that in every episode.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, have a good week, and we will see you guys all back next week. Bye.
Bye.